Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm Tony and this is TC's Outdoors, and today is the beginning of the woodshed build, but it's kind of not the beginning. So if you see over there behind me, I've been out here a little bit. I came out this weekend. My wife and I got the poles set. I'll throw some time-lapse footage in right now, and I'll do a little voiceover over the top of that, and then we'll come back and we'll talk a little bit. So okay guys, so you see I've got my wife out here giving me a hand. We had to plumb up the posts. She was holding them up, had a level held to it, so she would hold them plumb, and I just used the screws to hold them into the post anchors. I use structural screws. 5/16 structural screws are a lot stronger than the supplied hardware that came with the post anchors. I kind of overbuilt it for a couple of reasons. We went with 4x4 posts, 2x10 top plate, and 2x6 rafters, and I'm spanning 10 feet with the rafters, so snow load won't be a problem with the 2x6 and the 2x10 top plate. And as far as like the structural screws that I'm using, I'm kind of concerned about wind lift. The prevailing wind comes out of the northwest, kind of the direction where the boiler is, and I really don't want the roof to get ripped off of this or the posts pulled out of the concrete. So the goal is to overbuild it and hopefully be able to enjoy it, you know, the balance of my lifetime. And you'll see once I start doing some nailing here, or trying to. I talk about it a little bit later in the video, but I was struggling with the nail gun I had. It was borrowed, and I fought with it for this entire first day. But once I got going on the rafters, it was too much of a pain. It was taking me way too long, so I ended up just running to Harbor Freight and picked up their cheapest framing nailer, and hopefully it'll last me the balance of this project, and we'll call it a win. But a lot of good work got done in a couple of days here. A lot of work left to do though, so next couple of weeks I need to get the firewood up here so that I can get the boiler going, and I got a lot of work left to do before I can do that, but we took a pretty good chunk out of it in this video. So hopefully you guys enjoy the video and stick around, and we'll talk a little bit about what I did and how I did it, and that's what we're gonna do. Alright, so as you see, all the poles are set and plumbed, and I have the top plate up. That rafter up there is not really set in place. That's what we're working on today. So I've spent the last, I don't know, maybe hour or so watching some YouTube videos on how to cut rafters with a bird's mouth. I would like to start this off with a disclaimer of sorts. I am not a carpenter. This is not a how-to. This is how I'm doing it. You should check your local municipalities and see what the building codes require. Here in New York, they're pretty strict. I'm still waiting for a post inspection, but I'm going to continue on, and hopefully when they get here everything's up to snuff and I don't have to take the thing down, but I guess we'll worry about that later. But for all intents and purposes, this could end up as a how not to. We'll never know. I know just enough about carpentry probably to get myself in trouble out here, so I've built a few things in my 43 years, but not, and there's the jake brake. So either way, we're going to get started on the rafters, and I'll kind of talk you through what I've learned so far, and then I'm going to throw you back on time-lapse, and we're going to get some rafters up. I've been fighting with my nail gun. I have a borrowed nail gun. It was built in 1911, I think. There it is there. It's a pass-load framing nailer. Oh, there's the air compressor. And I really didn't want to buy one for this project, so I borrowed one, and it's been sitting in the garage for a long, long time, and now it's a pain in the butt. But either way, basically you need like a couple of basic tools, and the bird's mouth rafter is pretty easy to do. So you need a speed square and a tape measure and a pencil, and you can pretty much get yourself close to where you got to be. So I knew when I built this that I was going to build the roof pitch at a 412 pitch, and I'm pretty close to that. I'm actually just a hair over. So with a little math, I figured out, you know, that I was 412. It's like 4 and a I don't even know, 4.2 and 12. So on your speed square down here on the bottom where it says common, that is your angle. So if you pivot where it says pivot, also on your speed square, you have where it says pivot right here, I just showed you, and then over here on the common side you'll have these numbers. So what you're going to want to do is hold that to the pivot point to your mark, and then pivot down till you get to your roof pitch. So I know I'm at 412, and this is hard to do because I'm left-handed. So there we go. I have the 4. I'm on the pivot point, and that is going to be what would have been if it wouldn't have moved. So that'll be my angle to cut. So that is the back of the bird's mouth. From here off is going to stick off the tail end of the that'll be my overhang here, and it'll end up being just a foot past on the bottom when we square up that end there. I'll show you how to do that here in a second too. So then once you have your angle cut, then you're going to take this line. You see this line that's kind of scribed onto your speed square? So you line that up to the mark that you just made, and then you're going to run that down, and then drop your square, which is, sorry, that was really loud. So this section is what we're going to cut out. So on this end, we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to take the pivot point right to the very corner, and then I'm just going to pivot down to the 4 and mark that. And what that's going to do is give us a square cut once you have this laying against the top plate. So then you'll have a nice square place for your fascia if you choose to use fascia. So that's the basic gist of it. And if we were going to cut that out, it would end up looking like this. This is the finished product of what I was working with earlier as a template. So I cut out my bird's mouth, and then we square that up. And if we come over here, now this isn't the same template. This is going to be my rafter template. But you see how right here, bird's mouth comes down, it's notched down onto the top plate, and then we've got a nice square edge for the fascia. And so then all you really need to do is figure out the length in between the two bird's mouths, and there's a couple ways to do that. You could use math. You could, if you know your length times height, and then a squared plus b squared equals c squared, Pythagorean theorem. It's harder to say than it is to do. And then you'll get your long leg there. Or what I did is I just laid a 2x6 up there, measured off the end, so I knew I had the proper overhang right here. Once I knew I had the proper overhang, I clamped it, I marked the back end of it, and then I went up there and marked the end that was up on that top plate. And then I knew the two back sides of my bird's mouths, and then I just cut them. It did take a little bit of adjusting to get them to fit just right. I've got a 32-inch overhang on the front, so hopefully that prevents a lot of the weather from blowing in there in the front. That's my way of thinking anyway. So they're 14-foot rafters. So that's the gist of it. I'm gonna lay one out, and we'll cut one in real time. All right, so like I said, we're going to use the one that I already had laid up there as a template for the rest of them, and that way they're all the same, and I can just stamp them out and go for it. So line them up end to end. Just use a couple of clamps to make sure that nothing moves on me. Make sure we're good, both ends. And just use the other rafter as a template and mark our cuts. And if I did my job correctly, the top plate spacing should be the same all the way down. I already measured that, and it's pretty close. The center I'm going to have to pull in a little bit. It's kind of bowing out, but there's nothing supporting it like there is on the ends. It kind of makes sense. So we mark it, and then we're always going to use this one as a template. So we'll just put these down here. Move that over there. Okay, to make my cuts, I'm just going to use this little battery-powered circular saw. It's nothing super fancy. And then to finish my cuts off, I'll use my saber saw. So you're pretty much just lined up and you cut your angle. You can only cut as far as you, I mean, I guess I've seen guys overcut both sides and then they can just use one saw, but I don't really like the idea of that because that just weakens that area up. So I'm going to take the time and cut it all out with the jigsaw. But first I need to make the original cuts. And while I'm down here, I'm going to cut this tail off as well. Okay. So then we'll grab the jigsaw. And then I just finish to the corners. I mean, it kind of breaks right off, as you see. And that is it for this end. And then my jigsaw is a little bent, typical TC Outdoors fashion. I dropped it and broke the foot, and I ordered a new one, but it's not here right now, so we have to use the bent one. So now we'll come down here, cut the other end. All right, and that is going to be the final product. Hopefully we'll go over here and see how we did. That is pretty dang good, if you ask me. And there we go. First rafter is about to be toenailed into place. We're gonna do 2 foot on center. So I'm going to turn you guys into time lapse and crank up the speed here so I can hammer out a few of these and we'll see how it goes. So here we go.
So if you haven't noticed, in the last little bit of time lapse here, it's a different day. I wasn't able to get all this finished up the other day when I was working on it, but and then I had to work the whole weekend, and now it's Monday and we're just wrapping this thing up. So all the rafters are in place, except for over here. I'm going to build a 1 foot overhang on both ends actually, but I'm going to need some help for that. So I don't really want to fall off the ladder, and an extra set of hands or two will definitely go a long way when it comes to doing that. So everything's worked out so far though, lumber wise. My materials list is paid off. I've got enough lumber to finish up what I need for 2x6s as far as the roof goes, and then we'll get started on the purlins. That'll be the next video. We'll get the purlins up and we'll get that 1 foot overhang done. And I gotta get my siding, or not siding, but my roofing ordered. I gotta get over and get my steel ordered for the roof. I think I'll need like 9 panels, something like that for the, and I'll just order 14-foot panels. I won't have to cut anything off of them, which will work out good. And then we'll get that up. And as far as siding goes, I hope to get that done this year. I gotta find some. So I think I'm gonna use like 1x6 or 1x8 rough cut. I messaged a guy on Facebook, local sawmill, and he never got back to me, so hopefully soon. And I'll be able to get that done. But I probably won't stain it this year, but I'm going to leave like a 4-inch gap in between the boards so that the air can blow through. But it'll help stiffen up the building, and it'll help you know, give me something to stack against too. So yeah, that's going to do it for today's build video though. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Bunyan is like a week and 2 days away, something like that. So if you guys see me there, be sure to say hello. And when I get back from Bunyan, I gotta light the boiler, so that means I gotta get busy on this thing. But well, either way, if you're into this kind of stuff, guys, go ahead and hit the like and the subscribe. I'd appreciate that. And we'll talk to you next time. Take it easy, guys. We'll see you.